Hare Krishna. Okay, so today is chapter 18. Chapter 18 is Moksha Sanyasa Yoga, the perfection of renunciation. And Arjuna here is asking Krishna about the purpose of renunciation. What is the purpose of renunciation? And what is the purpose of Tyaga and Sannyasa, the renounced order of life? What is the difference? Why? What is the purpose of it? So Krishna is going to explain all this. He is going to talk about 5 causes of action. How 5 causes of action takes place, 3 factors that motivate action, and 3 constituents of action. He is going to describe action, understanding. Then he is going to talk about determination. He is going to talk about knowledge, happiness, and according to 3 modes of material nature that we had learned before. So let's see the points that are going to be covered in this chapter: freedom from bondage through karma yoga, 5 factors of action, modes controlling all activities and all beings, purification through prescribed duties of varnashrama, and Brahman platform, confidential knowledge. That's there on the screen. You can read that. We move on. Last chapter 17th summary. Arjuna inquired about unauthorized worship. Krishna answered, 3 modes determines one's faith and worship. Then food in 3 modes, sacrifices in 3 modes, 3 kinds of austerity in 3 modes, charity in 3 modes. Om Tat Sat. Yesterday we did all this. We covered all these shlokas also. Today we'll start with chapter 18. Hare Krishna. Gunashri Mataji, I think we can have like if there are kids over here who can cover 2 to 3 slides so that everybody gets a chance to read.
And I think they can raise their hand, Mataji, whoever wants to read.
Yeah, and then you can keep giving them chance.
Yeah.
Sanyas,
please raise your hand.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Sanyasasya mahabaho tattvamichhami veditum tyagasya cha hrishikesha pratikkeshi nishudana.
Arjuna said,
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, sannyasa. O killer of the Kesi, demon, master of the senses.
So the 2 words that he has used over here is Rishikesha and Keshi Nishudana. Rishikesha means he is addressing Krishna only. Rishikesh means master of senses. And Pratik Keshi Nishudana. Keshi Nishudana is like the one who killed demon Keshi. So here Arjuna is asking asking him to summarize whatever he has learned so far, and so that he can remain mentally balanced, equipoised. So, but he still has some doubts. And these doubts that are coming to his minds are compared to like demon. You are having doubts. So therefore, he has addressed Krishna as Keshi Nishudana, who has killed the formidable demon Keshi. And now Arjuna is expecting Krishna to kill the demon of his doubt, whatever doubt he has. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarvakaram karma palatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa. And giving up the result of all activities is what the wise call renunciation, tyaga.
So that is tyaga. So performance of activities for results have to be given up. There are certain sacrifices to perform, like sometimes they do puja, sacrifices to get good, want a son, or they want to attain elevation to higher planets. But sacrifices that are prompted by some kind of desire, that should be stopped. So, however, the sacrifice for the purification of our heart, to purify our own selves for spiritual benefit and to advance in Krishna consciousness, that should not be given up. That should be continued. Tyajyam doshavadyeke karma prahur manishinaha yajnadana tapah karma natyajyam iti chapare.
Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned.
So there are different opinions among the sages. Some say that animal killings should be avoided. Others say that specific sacrifice some kind of sacrifice, animal killing, it is good. So all these different opinions are there on sacrificial activity. This is going to be clarified by Krishna himself. यज्ञदानः तपः कर्म न त्याज्यं कार्यमेव तत् यज्ञो दानं तपश्चैव पावनानि मनीषिणाम्.
Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls.
Great souls. So, for example, you can say a caterpillar, right? I had shown caterpillar in one of the slides before also. It to in order to transform itself, it weaves into a cocoon for its own evolution, and it encages itself into it. Once it becomes a butterfly, it breaks open the cocoon and it soars into the sky, right? So our position is also in the world similar to this only. Like the caterpillar, we are presently attached to the world and we are deprived of all the good qualities that we are supposed to have. We need to perform actions that bring us that brings about like kind of inner transformation that we desire, right? So yajna, dana, tapa, charity, these are the acts that will help us in our spiritual evolution, in our growth. And so Krishna is trying to tell us in this verse that these auspicious activities must never be left out, abandoned, kind of. So he is qualifying this statement, his statement, by revealing the proper attitude, how it should be performed. He is going to tell us how it should be performed. There has to be a proper attitude for it. एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम्.
All this activity should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Partha. That is my final opinion.
Son of Pritha, because if you say Partha, Partha is the name of Arjuna only. Arjuna's name is Partha. Pritha is like Kunti. Son of Pritha means son of Kunti, Pritha. Now you can see in the picture how he's saving the animal, right? So he's not trying to do for some expectation over there. He's just pulling it out because he wants to save. That's it. There is no attachment. There's no expectation of result over here. So acts of sacrifice, charity, penance, it should be done in the mood of devotion towards the Lord. So Lord Krishna is stating in this, wise should perform auspicious and beneficial acts in the same attitude of selflessness, right? You see, that is the selflessness that you can see in the picture. He has no selfish motivation over there. As a mother, she forsakes her own selfish joys to perform her duty as a mother to her baby. So same way, we should also do it selflessly. Yes, please, somebody read.
Prescribed
Prescribed
duties
should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties because of hallucination, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear or bodily discomfort is said to be renounced in the mode of passion. Such actions never lead to evaluation of renunciation. O Arjuna, when performs his prescribed duty only because is done to be done and renounces all material associations and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be mode of goodness.
So for the first one, 18.7, see, prescribed duties should never be renounced. So they have put a cross over there, right? If one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Very clear here, 18.7. Prescribed duties should not be renounced. Reason, illusion, and mode of ignorance. Second is, who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion, because the reason is out of fear he leaves his duties. That is mode of passion. He keeps on doing his duty, and because the reason is it's his duty, that is in the mode of goodness. And he's detached. He doesn't bother about the result. He doesn't bother about the material association, nothing. He is totally free. He is doing his duty. He is giving up the results. He is totally detached, but he continues to do his duty. In mode of ignorance and mode of passion, they leave their prescribed duties, either out of illusion or out of fear. That's not right. पंचैतानि महाबाहो कारणानि निबोध मे सांख्ये कृतान्ते प्रोक्तानि सिद्धये सर्वकर्मणाम्.
O might armored Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all actions. Now learn of this from me.
So on knowing that work can be performed without attachment to the fruits, so natural question will come. What starts one to do action? What motivates, what inspires us to do action then? If you have to leave the attachment to the fruits then. So Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that he is going to address this question now. As this knowledge will help develop detachment from the results of action. Otherwise, why should we do action? That kind of question arises, right? That is why. अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता करणं च पृथक्विधं विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा देवं चैव अत्र पञ्चमम्.
The place of action, the performer, the various senses, the many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately the super soul. These are 5 factors of action.
So what are the 5 factors? One is the place of action, the body. Next is the performer, various senses, many kinds of endeavor, ultimately super soul. 5. So the ultimate control is resting with super soul. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto, means he is engaging everyone in some activity or the other by reminding him of his past actions. So if we do action in Krishna consciousness, under his direction, then it will not yield any reaction, either in this life or the life later or after death. तत्रैवं सति कर्तारम् आत्मानं केवलं तु यः पश्यत्य कृतबुद्धित्वात् न स पश्यति दुर्मतिः.
Therefore, one who thinks himself the only door, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are.
So the 5 factors that we read in the last verse. So who thinks himself that he is the doer, he is a foolish person. He cannot understand that there is a super soul sitting inside as a friend within, and he is the one who is conducting his actions. He is observing everything. So one who does not see the supreme thinks himself to be the doer, and he does not consider the 5 factors, is certainly foolish. ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं परिज्ञाता त्रिविधा कर्म चोदना करणं कर्म कर्तेति त्रिविधः कर्म संग्रहः. Hare Krishna.
Ankush, it's your turn.
Sorry, knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors which motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer comprise the threefold basis of action.
So the knowledge, object of knowledge, knower, 3 factors which motivate action. So how are we motivated to do action? We have to do some work, right? So there has to be some kind of motivation. So what are the factors? We have to have that knowledge. We need to have that object of knowledge, and we are the doer, right? So when inspiration is there and the worker is there, there is a work, there is a doer, and there is an inspiration to do, then actual activity takes place with the help of senses, including the mind. It's the center of all the senses, right? Mind. So the sum total of all this constitutes of an activity. It is called work. For example, let's say if you come to know that in your company it is giving bonus to the best employee, naturally it will give you some kind of motivation to work harder. Similarly, if you are awareness of importance of winning a medal in, say, Olympics, it will motivate a sports person to practice for years together. That motivation to get that gold medal in Olympics. That is why knowledge has also a correlation to the quality of work. Not only work, but the quality of work is also important. Knowledge is good, but quality of work is equally important. Then only you get a gold medal. Not everybody doesn't get. So for instance, a degree from a topmost college carries weight in the job market. If you say, oh, I have passed from Harvard University, okay, you get a good job that way. So this is self-assessment time. From the following slides, rate yourself from 1 to 3 based on which category you fall under, 1 being the lowest and 3 the highest. You can jot down on your phone or pen or wherever, paper, wherever you want to. Just as the slides are coming by one, you will be reading. I won't read the Sanskrit shlokas. You just keep reading it and assess yourself. I'll explain if I can. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So 3 kinds of knowledge based on the modes of material nature. So, yeah.
Mataji, may
Yeah, please.
the knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all existence, undivided in the divided, is knowledge in the mode of goodness.
This one, let me explain and then you keep reading. A person who
Okay.
sees the spirit soul in every living being, whether it's a demigod or a human being or an animal, beast, whoever, he possesses knowledge in the mode of goodness. That is the first shloka, 18.21.
That knowledge by which a different type of living entity is seen to be dwelling in different bodies is knowledge in the mode of passion.
So mode of passion, where world is not seen in connection to God. You're not connecting it with God. That knowledge is said to be in the mode of passion. So the living beings are perceived in their plurality. Like you're looking at the class, you're trying to look at the creed, the race, the religion, nationality, and all that. When knowledge unites, it is in mode of goodness. When the knowledge divides, that okay, he is this, he is that, you start differentiating, then it's mode of passion. 18.22.
And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness.
So for him, God is money. Knowledge means satisfaction of bodily demands. Such knowledge has no connection with God or absolute truth, right? It is like more or less knowledge of like ordinary animals, knowledge of eating, sleeping, defending, mating. Such knowledge is totally in the mode of darkness. So that is just for body comfort you're trying to look. That's mode of ignorance. Please keep jotting down which one you fall into, which category you think so. 3 kinds of action based on the modes of material nature. So having explained the 3 kinds of knowledge now, Lord Krishna is going to describe 3 kinds of action. 18.23. Avijit, please continue.
As for action, that action in accordance with duty, which is performed without attachment, without love or hate, by one who has renounced fruitive result, is called action in the mode of goodness.
So you do your job according to the scripture. There is no attachment. You are performing in Krishna consciousness without self-satisfaction, self-gratification. That action is called to be in the mode of goodness. So let's see 18.24.
But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires, and which is enacted for a sense of false ego, is called action in the mode of passion.
Yeah. So the example of like rajasic action or mode of passion is the corporate world. You see management executives regularly complaining of stress. This is because their action are usually motivated by pride, by over ambition for power, prestige, wealth. That is the action in mode of passion. 18.25.
And that action performed in
Ignorance.
I'm sorry.
Ignorance and delusion.
And that, yeah, I can. And that action performed in ignorance and delusion without consideration of future bondage or consequences, which inflicts injury and is impractical, is said to be action in the mode of ignorance.
Yeah. Mode of ignorance is tamoguna. They are covered with a fog of ignorance, total ignorance, right? So Lord Krishna is using the word kshaya. Kshaya means like decay. So tamasic action or the mode of ignorance, it causes one's health to decay, one's energy to decay. So waste of effort, waste of time, waste of resources. Like for example, those who are into gambling, stealing, corruption, drinking, they are in mode of, that action is mode of ignorance. Yes, Pooja, would you like to read? Anybody else?
The worker who is free from all material attachments and false ego, who is enthusiastic and resolved,
Resolute.
and who is
Resolute.
resolute, and who is indifferent to success or failure, he is a worker in the mode of goodness.
Is a mode of goodness. So Sattvic, they are Mukta Sangha. Mukta Sangha means they do not try to cling to things in worldly attachment. They're not clinging on to something, right? Their intentions are very pure. They are filled with zeal, utsah, and dhriti, strong determination to do their work. So they may accomplish great things. So Nahamvadi means they will give credit, everything, whatever they are doing, they will give credit to God or success to God. It is God's wish that it happened. That is how they give up their work.
But that
18.27.
worker who is attached to the fruits of his labor and who is passionately wants to enjoy them, who is greedy, envious, and impure, and motivated by happiness and distress, is a worker in a mode of passion.
So these Rajasic workers, they are deeply ambitious. They are deeply ambitious for materialistic enhancements. They are lubdha, greedy. They want more. When they see others succeeding, they are enjoying more than us. They become hinsatmaka. Hinsatmaka means they are very envious. They are bent upon injury. To fulfill their end, they will go to any length, and sometimes they sacrifice morality also in this passion. So they become ashuchihi, means they become impure. So when their desires are fulfilled, they become very happy. And when it doesn't happen, something like that doesn't happen, they are frightened, they just totally become very unhappy. So this way their lives become harsha shoka anavita, means mixture of sometimes happiness, sometimes sorrow. 18.28.
And that worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of scriptures, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is a worker in the mode of ignorance.
So those who are in the mode of ignorance, they are procrastinating. Anything can be done in an hour, they will take years to do. Such workers are in mode of ignorance. Their mind is totally blotted with negative obsessions. Yet, thus they are called ayukta, means not disciplined. They're very obstinate in their views. Yes, next person. Hare Krishna. Three kinds of intelligences based on the modes of material nature.
O son of Pratha, that understanding by which one knows that ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is blinding and what is liberating, that understanding is established in the mode of goodness.
So now after explaining knowledge, now object of knowledge and knower, three different divisions according to the modes of material nature. The Krishna is going to explain about buddhi, that is intelligence, and he is going to tell about right or wrong. Buddhi means it will tell us the distinction between what is right, what is wrong, right? And determination. He is going to talk about determination. So in the beginning, in 18.30, what is he saying? Arjuna is confused about his duty. In the beginning, he was confused, right? Chapter 2, he was asking what to do, how to do. Krishna helped him to develop the power of discrimination, that what is right, what is wrong, right? The sattvic intellect that we get, it is the one that helps us to understand that what kind of action is to be performed, what action is to be renounced, what is to be feared, what is to be ignored. This sattvic intellect only will tell us, it will explain to us the reason, what are the shortcomings in our personality and how to solve it. This is the sattvic intellect. If we have, that is the reason we get this kind of solutions. 18.31.
And that understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done. What imperfect understanding, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of passion.
So Rajasic intellect is mixed due to personal attachment. You start having that attachments, some people, they are very successful in career front, but when it comes to family, they are utter failures. They don't have proper relationships. Why? Because their attachment, sometimes it prevents them from proper perception, proper conduct, proper behavior. They are in Rajasic. 18.32.
That understanding which considers irreligious to be religion and religious to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction. O Pratha,
Partha.
O Partha, is in the mood of ignorance.
So this mode of ignorance or tamasic intellect, no knowledge, totally opposite of goodness, no illumination, total adharma. So they will think, dharma is adharma only. Adharma, they misconstrue adharma to be dharma. For example, like if I have to give you an example of a drunkard, he is attached to drinking alcohol, right? So much so that he thinks that it is okay to drink. His poor intellect, he is not getting sattvic intellect, it's tamasic intellect. So his poor intellect, it is covered with full of darkness. He cannot understand that it is going to destroy his health. He sometimes even doesn't mind selling off some of his, quietly he will go sell off some thing from his home, or he will sell off his property also just to buy alcohol. That's tamasic intellect. The faculty of judgment, you to discriminate what is right, what is wrong, that ability for logical reasoning, that's lost in tamasic mode of ignorance. Mataji, Gunashki Mataji, can you also read, please? So now here 3 kinds of determination based on the modes of material nature, 18.33.
Yes, Mataji. O son of Pratha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and thus controls the mind, life, and the act of senses, is in the mode of goodness.
So here the word abhicharinya means yogena vyabhicharinya dhritissa partha satviki. So it is very, very important word. It indicates that person who are engaged in Krishna consciousness, they are never delivered by any other activity. They are not deviated by any other activity. They are continuously steadfast in their devotion to Krishna. That's mode of goodness. 18.34.
And that determination by which one holds fast to fruitful results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna.
So sense gratification. Any person whose only desire is sense gratification, I want this, I want that, they're always running about material things, and whose mind, whose life, whose senses completely engaged in worldly pursuits. Everything, I want a house, I want a car, running after this the whole life. They are in mode of passion. 18.35.
And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, morseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination is in the mode of darkness.
Totally. Some people are totally the victims of fear complex. They're totally into fear complex. They hold on to it. And some make their life living hell because they are clinging on to past disappointment and they don't want to let go of it. They're just clinging. Some insist upon quarreling with everybody who are hurting their ego. So Lord Krishna is saying that determination based upon stubbornness and clinging on to that wasteful thoughts, totally on mode of ignorance. You cannot keep clinging on to that negative thought. If you are clinging on to it all the time, you're in the mode of darkness. Please continue, Mataji. 3 kinds of happiness based on the modes of material nature. Happiness, let's see.
Yeah, Ankush.
Yes. 18.39, right?
37.
37.
Sorry. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to happiness in the mode of goodness.
So there are 2 parts. One is beneficial and one is pleasant. This is very interesting. Beneficial and pleasant. These 2 lead to the humans to very different paths, different end. Beneficial and pleasant. The pleasant is enjoyable in the beginning, but it ends in pain. The ignorant are trapped in the pleasant and they're gone then. But the wise, they are not deceived by these attractions. They choose the beneficial. What is beneficial for me? Even though it might be very hard, they will attain after that. For example, even going through this Krishna consciousness, trying to follow the regulative principles, doing fasting, doing puja on time and all, it may look difficult now, but the end result will be very sweet. But those who are enjoying, saying, oh, forget about Krishna consciousness, let me enjoy now, their end will be difficult. That's the difference. 18.38.
That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion.
Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada in his purport writes that if sometimes, boy and girl, they get on impulse, they go into premarital relationship just because it is pleasing to their senses. And for some reason, there is some separation takes place. They get divorced or they are lamenting or they go into depression, failed because of failed relationship. They end up feeling very bitter about it. Their joy is short-lived, right? So they are into nature of passion. They don't think. They just go into out of impulse and they end up having pain. 18.39.
And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance.
That's the lowest kind. Mode of ignorance. Tamasic happiness is lowest kind. It is foolishness from beginning to the end. It throws the soul into the darkness, total darkness. This tiny experience of pleasure, people get addicted to it. Like alcoholics or cigarette smokers, they find it very difficult to break their habit. It's very difficult. Even while knowing fully well that it is not good for their health, they keep doing it. They're unable to reject the happiness they get from the addiction. Once you're addicted, you feel very happy. You cannot get away from it. So Lord Krishna is stating that such pleasures that are derived from too much of sleeping, too much of laziness, too much of negligence, they are in the mode of ignorance. For people who are in mode of ignorance, it is totally distress from the beginning till the end. That is very, very, very difficult to overcome. So please check your results. If you have got 18, very good. If you were near 6, not so great. Near 12, pick yourselves up. That's what it says. Let's move on. 18.41. 4 kinds of ashramas based on the modes of material nature. Lord Krishna here explains why human beings possess differing natures, why they have different natures. So the duties of like brahmanas, of kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras, they are distributed according to their qualities, according to their gunas, not according to their birth. So Lord Krishna is going to tell about the gunas of people and their natural qualities of work. Please read 18.42.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work.
They possess wisdom, right? Brahmanas possess wisdom. Brahmanas not by birth, by quality. They possess wisdom of the scriptures. So their views on scriptures, social, political matters were greatly valued then. Brahmanas not by birth, please remember, by quality. 18.43.
Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities of work for the Kshatriyas.
So Kshatriyas, they were suitable for battle, right? And the leadership works. But they definitely, they were suitable for all this, but they respected the Brahmanas and took advice from them on spiritual and policy matters as well. 18.44.
Farming, cattle raising, and business are the qualities of work for the Vaishyas, and for the Sudras, there is labor and service to others.
So the Vaishyas or the business class, they were whose nature was predominantly Rajasic with a mixture of little bit of Tamoguna. So they used to sustain the whole economy of the nation, right? They were in business class and they were the ones who created jobs for other classes. They were also expected to undertake some charitable projects because they had money. The Shudras, the lowest class, they were supposed to possess tamasic nature. Yatta pravartirbhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamarbyarchat siddhim vindati manavaha.
By worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
So whatever occupation one may be engaged, whatever, you may be a Brahman, you may be a Kshatriya, you may be a Vaishya, or you may be a Shudra. If he serves the Supreme Lord, he will achieve the highest perfection. So Lord in Bhagavad Gita, he said in chapter 12 also, Tesham aham samudhartam. So he said he will himself take care of such a devotee. That's the highest perfection of life, right? So there was a story, nice story of Yudhishthir also. I had read in Vyada Gita of Mahabharata. There's something called Vyada Gita. So it's about Rishi Markandeya telling Yudhishthir when he was in the forest, that it goes on to say that there was a young sannyasi who was practicing austerity in the forest. So one day, he was sitting under the tree. Some bird threw the what do you call dropping. The coarse dropping fell upon him. He looked very angrily at the crow, and as soon as he looked, the crow fell dead on the ground. Then he realized, oh my God, I have developed some mystical powers. So he was suddenly filled with pride. Shortly afterward, he went to some house for alms. They beg food from home to home. So a housewife, she opened the door and she said, okay, can you please wait for a while? I have my husband who's a little bit sick. I have to nurse him a little bit. He got very angry. You said, hey, woman, do you know who you're talking? You are asking me to wait. You don't even know my powers. She said, please, don't look at me with that kind of anger. You don't, please don't think that I'm a crow that you will be burnt by a glance. He was shocked. He said, how do you know? I didn't even tell you about this. She said, maybe I'm not doing austerities like you, but I'm doing my duty with full devotion and dedication. So by virtue of it, what happened is I have got this ability. I have illumined my mind and I have the ability to read somebody's mind. I have read about your mind. If you want, you can meet a righteous, there is a butcher there who's so full of devotion. He will answer your question on dharma. So the sannyasi was shocked. He didn't want to actually go to a butcher to get dharma and get knowledge from him, but somehow he overcame his initial hesitation and he went over there. The butcher explained to him that we have to do our swadharma, our dharma properly according to our past karmas and competence. We get our life, but we have to keep doing our duty. If we do our natural duty and renounce the desire for personal gain and rise above that, then and it will purify us, and slowly we will graduate to the next class of dharma. And after he heard all that, the sannyasi were totally shocked. He was sitting in the forest doing so much of austerity, and here we are people doing their work, normal duties, and then they are not, they are giving away the fruit of the action. Wow, that was so great about it. So this was very much applicable to Arjuna also, because he also wanted to run away from the battlefield, thinking that it was very painful and miserable to kill, and he was running away from his dharma as a kshatriya. So in this verse, Lord Krishna is instructing him, like, do your proper duty, whatever duty it is. If you are a Brahmana, do your duty. If you are a Kshatriya, do your duty with proper consciousness, right? So you will attain perfection. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha pardharmat swanishtitat swabhavaniyatam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham.
It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Prescribed duties according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions.
So in the picture, there is a monkey, there is a penguin, there is an elephant, fish, and all. And he's saying first to climb the tree will win. Who can climb the tree? Can you tell me?
The monkey.
Monkey can. So, I mean, is it fair to ask all of them and have a competition? That's not fair. So that is why it's saying it is better to engage in your own occupation. Whatever you are good at it, do that. Don't try to go and do somebody else's occupation and do it imperfectly. For example, Arjun was a Kshatriya, but he was hesitating to fight. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport that sometimes, what happens, a shopkeeper will say, I'm making so much of a discount for you. I'm not getting any profit, there is no margin at all. But you have to understand it is impossible. He is not making any profit. That very well he is lying, right? But shopkeeper should not think that because he is engaged in that kind of occupation where he has to lie a little bit, he should give up his profession and take up some other profession of maybe a brahmana or something. That is not recommended. Whatever is your occupation, do that. So we must do our occupational duties and continue to hear, chant, meditate, and slowly develop love for God. And maybe, slowly you can move on in spiritual ladder. Asakta buddhi sarvatra jitatma vigataspruha naiškarmya siddhim paramam sanyasena adhigacchati.
One who is self-controlled and unattached and who disregards all material enjoyments can obtain, by practice of renunciation, the highest perfect stage of freedom from reaction.
So real renunciation means what? We should always remember we are part and parcel of Krishna. We must surrender all the results of our action to him. That is actually Krishna consciousness. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param.
One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me.
You have to do devotional service. Living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he is just like a river who is cleansed of all dirty water. Because a pure devotee is naturally always joyful. He is not lamenting about anything, about your material loss or any kind, or he is not aspiring for any gain also. He is completely in the service of Lord, total devotional service. So we must do devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yamanyashtasmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram.
Mega, please carry on.
Okay. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one in full consciousness of Supreme Lord by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God.
So devotees can understand because they possess the eyes of love. So just having knowledge is not enough, right? To enjoy the bliss or personal form of God. We need to have devotional service. We need to have bhakti to attain Krishna consciousness. Every living entity is part and parcel of Lord, right? So our duty is to serve, basically serve the Lord. Sarva karmanyapi sada kurvano madhyavap pashrayah mat prasadadavapnoti shashvatam padam avyayam.
Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace.
So Mad Vyapashraya means protection under the Krishna, totally under Krishna. We are under Krishna if we are a devotee. So to a devotee to be engaged in Krishna consciousness, it's very, very nice because Lord is very, very kind. He is very kind to us. If we are little bit in Krishna consciousness, he will give a lot. If we give this much, he will give us this much. He is very kind. He will eventually place us in his abode, Krishna Lok only. He will guarantee the entrance over there. There is no doubt about it. In that supreme abode, there is no change. Everything is blissful. Everything is nice. Everything is illuminated. No sun, no moon, nothing is required. We are totally blissful over there. Matchitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi atachetvam shrushasi vinangshasi.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
So he's having advised what to do in the previous verse. Now he's telling what is the benefit of following his advice and what is the consequence of not following his advice. So he says soul should not think in any way that it is independent, totally independent of God. If we take full shelter of the Lord with mind fixed upon him, and then what will happen? if by his grace we can overcome all the difficulties, all the obstacles in our life, right? It will all be resolved automatically. But if we are very arrogant and we disregard the instruction, what will happen? We think that, oh, I know better. So that way, it will totally, we will fail to attain the goal of human life, which is to reach Krishna. We cannot think ourselves to be superior to God, because no one is superior to God, and there is no other advice that can be better given other than God. So that is the main thing. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddesherjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantrarudhani mayaya.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, as he is directing the wandering of all living entities, who are seated as on machine, made of the material energy.
So Lord Krishna is telling that, Arjun, the body in which you are residing is like a machine made from my material energy. So based on your past karmas, I will give you the kind of body you deserve. And I too am seated in it. I'm also in that body. And I'm noting down all your thoughts, all your words, all your deeds. So I will judge whatever you do in the present, that will decide your future. So clear. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashwatam.
O son of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
So in 15th chapter, he said, Sarvasichaham Vidisannivishtam. I am in everybody's heart. You can see in the picture, everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender to Supreme is Supreme Soul, which is sitting in the heart, which means that we should surrender to Krishna. So Krishna has already already been accepted by Arjuna, like he is supreme, right? He was accepted in 10th chapter also. Para Brahma Parandhama, like Arjuna has accepted Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Iti te jnanamakyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrishyait tadascheshena yathechasi tatha kuru.
Thus, I have explained to you the most confidential of all knowledge. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do.
He is very clearly said. He has explained to Arjuna the knowledge of Brahmabhuta. Brahmabhuta means the condition where you are always joyful. You will never lament. You are not desiring anything. That stage I have explained to you. So that is due to the confidential knowledge. Krishna has disclosed the knowledge of the super soul also to Krishna, to Arjuna. So this is Brahman knowledge and the knowledge of Brahman. But he has told all, Yathechasi tathakuru, means now you do what you like. I have told you everything. I have given you all the knowledge, whatever confidential knowledge. So it kind of indicates, he's given us little independence. He will tell us everything, but then I have given you a little bit of independence. Do what you want to do now. I have explained to you. Many times we get inside the consciousness, don't do this, this is wrong. But we sometimes ignore that and go ahead because of our false ego. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me.
Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend.
Very dear friend, he should arrange his life in such a way that 24 hours he cannot think of anything but Krishna. We have to do like this. And the Lord's promise is that if anyone who is totally in pure Krishna consciousness, he will certainly come to my abode. He's saying, I'm not going to, I promise you, if you do something for me, I will make sure that you come to me. The perfect example was King Amrish, like I had told in previous chapters also. King Amrish, he used to have, his mind was completely absorbed on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Speech for glorifying him, hands for cleaning the temple, ears for hearing his divine pastimes, maybe eyes to look at the deity. And he used to use his feet to go to the temple, his nose to smell the fragrance of tulsi leaf that was offered at his feet. Then what else? Tongue to taste prasadam that was offered to God. His head to offer obeisances to God. He did all this. with no selfish motive. He didn't want anything. He didn't desire anything. It was selfless service to Lord Krishna. Total purification, complete purification. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam charanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha.
Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear.
Do not fear. Ma shuchaha. Lord Krishna is initially he had instructed Arjuna to do karma. So his karma or dharma was to be a warrior, right? His material dharma, it does not result in God realization. It leads to heavenly abodes. If you are doing your material karma, it will, okay, you can go to the heaven. When your the pious merits will get over, again you will come back to the earth, right? You will come back. So Lord Krishna next asked Arjun to fight the war with the body, but always remember God in the mind. So this is the way. Second time he said, you do like this. In verse chapter 8, he said. Now, in the very end, what did Lord say? The Lord Krishna is instructing Arjun to practice karma sannyas, that is, renounce material dharma and simply adopt spiritual dharma for the love of God. He should fight, not because it is duty as a kshatriya, because God wants him to do that. So, particular words that he has used, ma shuchaha, that means do not fear, do not hesitate, do not worry. They are very significant words that he has used over here. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shrushave vachyam na cha mam yobhya suyati.
This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of me.
So you can't, this confidential knowledge cannot be explained. Everybody who is sitting over here are devotees. Non-devotees cannot even attend. They will have some problem or the other, some obstacle or the other. They will not be able to attend the class. That is what they call the grace of God. Suppose a student wants to become a graduate. He cannot just directly go and attend the graduation ceremony. He cannot. He will have to begin the study, right, from grade 1 and finish graduation and then attend the graduation ceremony. Similarly, vast majority of people are eligible to do karma yoga. Just do your duty, that's it. Prematurely, they cannot just become karma sannyasa, leave your duty and become total sannyasa. So that is what you cannot just leave one step and run to the fourth step, fourth ladder. So that is why in this verse, Lord Krishna is saying that this confidential teaching given to him is not for everyone. Before sharing it with others, we need to check their eligibility for this teaching. You need to be eligible to be able to learn this Bhagavad Gita, and there has to be grace of God. Not everyone. Whoever is envious of God, they will not be able to sit here and even finish 18 days course. Yaidam paramam guhyam madbhakteshvabhidhasyati bhaktim mayi param kritva mameva shatya samchayah.
For one who explained the supreme secrets to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me.
So in 18.6 Bhagavad Gita, it should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as God. Those who are sharing the spiritual knowledge of Bhagavad Gita with others, they receive the highest blessing themselves. And nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya krittamaha bhavita nacha me tasmat yah priya taro bhuvi.
There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
So the one who has been doing devotional service and the one who is sharing the spiritual knowledge, he says, amongst all the gifts we can give to others, the gift of spiritual knowledge is the highest, because it has the capacity to transform somebody internally. If you are giving kind of spiritual knowledge, like King Janaka was there, right? Sita's father, Devi Sita's father, he asked his guru, you have given me such transcendental knowledge. How can I repay you? Then his guru had said, this knowledge that I have given you is spiritual knowledge. And what you have right now, you have a palace, you have wealth and all that, that's material. Material objects can never be a price for spiritual knowledge or divine knowledge. But if you can do one thing, If someone wants to know this kind of knowledge, spiritual knowledge, you can share it with him. So here Lord Krishna is also saying that sharing the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is the highest service you can render to God, like how Srila Prabhupada did. Adhishyeshyate cha ya imam dharmyam sambhadamavayoho jnana yagyena tenaham amishtasyamiti me matihi.
And I declare that he who studies the sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence.
By his intelligence. So Lord Krishna has repeatedly told him to surrender, right, his intellect to him. This does not imply that we stop using our intellect. It means we utilize the intellect for the best of our ability, for fulfilling what God wants us to do, right? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu manusmara yudhyacha mayyar pitamano buddhi mame vaishyasya samchaya. So Arjun, you should always remember me, always think of me in form of Krishna. And at the same time, you can do your duty also. Whatever duty, your duty is to fight. You're a Kshatriya, fight. So with your activities dedicated to me, your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without a doubt, right? In chapter 12 also he said, Maye vamana adhasva, Mai buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayeva, atha urdhvam na samshaya. No doubt. Samshaya means no doubt. Just fix your mind upon me, right? Engage all your intelligence to me. You will live in me always. No doubt about it. Na samshayaha. No doubt about it. That's what he's telling. Please worship me. I declare, who studies this sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. Shraddha vanana suyashcha shrunuyadapi yo naraha sopi mukta shubhan lokan prapnuyat punya karmanam.
And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the planets where the pious dwell.
Not everyone has intelligence to understand the significance of the dialogue, what was happening between Krishna and Arjuna during Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, right? So Lord Krishna is saying, okay, such people, even if they hear with faith at least, they will also benefit, right? So God is seated within them also, right? And he will note down how much sincere effort you're all putting into here to understand. Then after seeing that, slowly he will help you to move towards Krishna consciousness. So he says, okay, fine, you are listening with faith and there is no envy in your heart. So definitely you will move towards Krishna consciousness. Nashto moha smritir labdha tvat prasadan maya achyuta sitosmi gata sandehaha karishye vachanam tava.
Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and am prepared to act according to your instructions.
In the beginning, what happened? Arjuna was completely confused about his duty. In that situation, what am I supposed to do? He was so overwhelmed with sorrow that he just sat down in his chariot. He gave up all his weapons and said, I cannot fight. Then he confessed, right, that he didn't understand. He couldn't find remedy to what his sorrow was, what to do about my grief that was attacking his senses that time. But then now he says, okay, nashto moha smritir labdha. All the moha is gone. It's all nasht now. I'm completely transformed now. And I'm situated in knowledge. And I'm no longer confused, Krishna. So he has given himself to the will of, he has surrendered to God now. And he will do whatever Lord Krishna has instructed him to do. That was the impact of the message of Bhagavad Gita upon him, right? So, however, he's adding over his Tvat prasadan mayachyuta. He's saying, oh Lord Krishna, it was not just your lecture, but it is your grace upon me that has removed my ignorance that I had. So material knowledge, that it does not require grace, right? You can just go to college, get a degree. You can pay to any educational institute. You can get a private tutor also to teach. You can receive knowledge from that. But spiritual knowledge, you cannot purchase and it cannot be sold. It is offered only through grace. If it was no grace, you cannot sit here, even if you want to. It has to be through gates, and it has to be received with total faith and total humbleness, humility. With humility, you have to approach. And if you approach Bhagavad Gita with kind of arrogance, attitude, I'm intelligent. If I read the book, I'll just get it. I can understand it by myself. Then you will never be able to comprehend. You have to have that kind of humility. While reading also, sometimes, we'll come across something. We may, if we are not, we are reading on our own, we will come across something in the scripture and we'll say, no, I don't agree with this. And you totally reject the whole thing as incorrect. There have been so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, but so many people have written, so many things that they have written about Bhagavad Gita, so many I have read. But how many people have become enlightened by like Arjuna? So if we really want to receive the knowledge, we must get the grace of Lord Krishna. And we should have the attitude of faith. And we should completely surrender, loving surrender. We should love and surrender. Ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanah samvadamimam ashrausham adbhutam romaharshanam. Sanjaya said,
Sanjaya said, thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end by the mercy. Sorry, Mataji. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sanjay has come to the end of the narration of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So Sanjay was narrating to Dhritarashtra. So he is referring Arjuna as Mahatma, great soul, because he accepted the advice of Krishna, right? So he has become very wise now. So Sanjay is remarking, his remarks are like how amazed he was, how astounded he was to hear the divine dialogues. His hair is standing on one end. That's the symptom of having that deep devotional love, Vyasa Prasada Chritvan. You can read the translation. Yeah.
By the mercy of Vyas, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
So Sanjay was given, Sanjay's spiritual master was Srila Vyasadeva, right? So Sanjay is admitting here that it is by Vyasadeva's mercy only that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? This means what? One has to understand Krishna, not directly, but through the medium of a teacher, spiritual master. That's what we understand from this verse. Rajan samsmritya samvadamimam adbhutam Keshava Arjunayo punyam vrishyami cha muhurmuhu.
O king, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment.
So Sanjay is rejoicing, he's so happy to be able to share this experience with the Dhritarashtra who was blind, right? And he's reflecting, he's remembering the wonderful dialogues and he's feeling so blissful that time. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhuter Dhruvani Terma Mama. Wherever there is Krishna, yes.
My connection, I can see it now.
Okay.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will always certainly, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
So that's what it says. Bhagavad Gita, it is concluding with this verse, 78th verse. And there is a declaration. Dhritarashtra was actually very apprehensive of the outcome of the war as to what will happen. Sanjay is informing him, there can be only one verdict of this war. The victory will always be on the side of the god, right? And his pure devotee. So he told the king, you are thinking of victory, but my opinion is that wherever Krishna and Arjuna are present, there will always be good fortune. So that was the ultimate message of Bhagavad Gita. What is that? Unconditional love, surrender, Sharanagati, right, to Krishna, which is very keynote to Prema Bhakti. Hare Krishna. So this is Hare Krishna, the Srila Prabhupada, who had very nicely said about Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, he said, and then Krishna Rakshamam, Krishna Pahimam, and this was in Chaitanya Charitamrita. where he said, the translation here, he said that we have to be very careful in this Kali Yuga. We are whatever we are experiencing this age is very bad. So we have to take shelter of Krishna and always say Hare Krishna, because the time is very dangerous right now. A lot of like we have epidemic condition also, where people are being contaminated, not by just disease, mentally also contaminated and dying. So if they are through disease, when they die, what happens? The doctors are appointed by government also, right? They have to go to epidemic area and they have to try and treat the person. So save them. So Srila Prabhupada says his duty is also similar to that. The whole atmosphere is epidemic and whole atmosphere is like Kali Yuga. So in this area, he also, by superior orders, he has to preach Krishna consciousness movement. So this is the summary of chapter 18. We had freedom from bondage through Karma Yoga, 5 factors of action, 3 modes control everything, purification through Varnashrama Dharma, Brahman platform, confidential knowledge, pure bhakti, acting in Krishna consciousness. And then there was Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna conclusion. वांछा कल्पतरूपश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण एवरीवन।